To understand the basics of the circular economy, it's essential to understand the key differences between the two cycles, the biological cycle and the technical cycle. In this section, we're going to go through these differences. Now, biological nutrients originate from the biosphere, and technical nutrients originate from the lithosphere. Now, the biosphere produces natural living materials. Nature breaks these down and recycles them. Soil bacteria are the workhorses in this, along with fungi. The technical cycle originates from the lithosphere, as we said. Minerals, like iron, are used to build up the technosphere, and either they stay there and become part of the social infrastructure, or they are recycled. But here, it is man who needs to do the recycling. Let's compare the two in more detail. In terms of origin of nutrients, its biological nutrients come from biosphere, and from the lithosphere, technical nutrients. What's extracted from the biosphere is natural living materials, and from the lithosphere, it's minerals and fossil fuels. Now, what happens to these materials? Well, in the biosphere, they recycle back. From the lithosphere, in the technical cycle, nutrients stay as part of infrastructure, or they're recycled back into the technosphere. Either way, they remain there. The only time that technical materials leave the technosphere is when they're part of the linear economy and lost in that respect. There are different challenges for biosphere and lithosphere materials. In the biological cycle, one of the challenges is putting biological materials back into nature. If they are too concentrated, pollution is a result. And for example, eutrophication is an example of too many biological nutrients being in water at the same time. Another challenge with the biological cycle is that it can degrade the maturity of the ecosystem by removing or extracting too many nutrients at one time. Challenges with the technical cycle are when nutrients have been used, that they might be combined in a way that they can't be usefully recycled. In that case, they're lost to society. As we said before, they could be taken out of the circular economy and dumped back either into the lithosphere, or they can end up in the biosphere, where things like mercury are quite toxic. Let's go to think about the recycling approach. In the biological cycle, nature recycles everything. However, if you're using natural materials in the biological cycle and recycling them before going back to nature, living material degrades from one recycling step to the other. So for example, you can have wood, and you might be able to recycle that into paper, and high quality paper, cardboard, might recycle into say toilet paper. Now in the technical cycle, it's completely different. Well, first of all, it's man that does all of the recycling, and note here, a lot of fossil fuel is needed for that. But in the technical cycle, it's possible to retain the quality of the technical material forever, and even improve it from one cycle to the other. In terms of circularity, biological nutrients are completely circular by relying on nature to recycle them. Or they can form part of a biofuel cycle. They can be burnt, or they can be digested for biogas. Now, biological nutrients are essential for soil enhancement and even carbon sequestration, and they can be processed to form biochar for carbon sequestration. Now, in terms of the technical cycle, the technical materials rely on human society to recycle them. However, many technical materials are resistant to degrading, which means they can be used in products that are intended to be long-lasting. Because the cycles are completely different in their nature, biological nutrients and technical nutrients should be handled separately from the design stage through to production, and they should be treated differently when ending up in waste or in a recycling process.